Hi, and welcome back to my crafty hen house. My name is Elaine. Today I have you back in my kitchen. I'm going to be making some chicken stew, and I started the stew on the countertop. Let me show you really quickly. This is my stew pot, and I'm boiling the chicken drums. I really enjoy using a stew pot on the counter. It just seems to work a lot easier for me. And one thing I have learned is when I do use a stew pot, I put it on a cookie sheet for any boil over, so you don't create a big mess for yourself to clean up. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna try to pull some of the meat out, see how it looks, and I'm gonna put you on the counter and let you see exactly what I'm gonna add to the stew. To make the chicken soup today, I used drumettes, and I've used 10 of them. And as you can see, the meat is ready and it's cooked. It's pulling away from the bone, and that's perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take away all the skin and all the fat off from the chicken. Pull the chicken and spread it. As you can see, it pulls away very nicely. And then we're gonna do that with all of the drumettes, and then go ahead and cut up the meat into nice size pieces and reintroduce them to the water that they just came out of. Again, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna cut off the skin, peel it away from the meat, take off any small bones that you might have, and do that separation process with all the drumettes that I'm using today. Then we'll go ahead and we'll put them back in the stew pot. An easy way to take the meat off these drumettes is once they've cooled enough to be able to handle, you can pull the skin off the drumette and then go ahead and spread the meat off. You can just turn the bone and the meat will pull off ever so nicely. And then you just want to clean up any extra bones that you might have in the meat. I might add that I use a paper plate for all of my scraps. I find it's easier to have one designated area when you're pulling bones or skin or cutting up any small pieces. Then you can just dump this paper plate as you go and bring it back to the counter and continue to use it for any other scraps of vegetables that you might have as you're preparing to put this meat and any vegetables back into the stock. This is all the chicken meat that we got off the 10 drumettes, and after pulling off the skin and putting all of our discard on the plate, then I went ahead and I chopped all of this into nice bite-sized pieces, and it's ready to go back into the stock. I also chopped up about 3 cloves of garlic. We love garlic. I'm gonna put in some northern beans. I'm also gonna put in some diced tomatoes. They have green peppers and onions, and on top of that I have a green pepper, red pepper, onion medley that was frozen. I'm going to take about a half a cup of that. I'm going to take about a cup of frozen corn, also a cup of onions, and about a half a cup to a cup of celery will be perfect. You want to make sure that when your stock had come to a boil, that you went ahead and any residue of the fat process that boiled down, you want to go ahead and you want to scoop that off. And we'll go ahead and we're going to scoop this area right here off into a bowl. Now that I skimmed off all the residue left over from boiling the chicken drumettes, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add 1 container of chicken broth, or you can do chicken stock. This is just going to give it some added flavor from boiling the chicken. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to start adding in everything that we've prepared: our chicken, the garlic, the northern beans, the diced tomatoes, the pepper medley, celery, onions, corn, and we're going to add some salt and some pepper. Go ahead and turn your heat back up to around 250, 270 to begin the heating process of your stock again. And let's go ahead, we're going to add the meat. This is quite a simple chicken stew that you can make with whatever you have in your house. You don't necessarily need to add in the northern beans. You can add in black-eyed peas, which are wonderful. You don't need to add in celery if you don't choose to. Anything that you might have. The medley of the red pepper, green pepper, and onion is what I had inside the freezer, as well as this is our medley. We're going to add that in. Let me drain some of the water off. You can also add in green beans from the freezer. Anything that you have, a nice vegetable. I would recommend that if you're going to add broccoli or cauliflower, okra, those type of vegetables, you wait until a little bit later in the process of it boiling again, so that they don't get really soft and boil right down to nothing. I am going to wait to add the northern beans. They are a softer bean, so I will wait towards the end, but I'll go ahead and add my tomatoes. These tomatoes have green pepper and onion. They're very good. They have a number of different roasted garlic, which are really good as well. And then let's go ahead and add our salt. I'll add about, this is pepper and the salt, I'll add about a tablespoon of each, and then come back and try the stew. Once it begins to boil down, then you can see if it's got the desired taste that you're looking for. So we'll bring that up to another rolling boil. And another thing that you can add, it's a little unorthodox, but this Montreal steak seasoning is very good. It's peppery, garlicky. It just has a really nice, bold taste to it. I will probably add this later on as the stew boils down. And let me show you what we have. So this is the wonderful stew that we've created with all the vegetables and the onions, chicken, and this will cook now for about an hour at about 250, 275. You're going to want to give your chicken stew proper time to cook down. So I would say anywhere between an hour, hour and a half. Let it cook down. Don't let it get to a steady rolling boil. You'll cook all your vegetables down to mush, which is not good. But you can make a chicken stew in relatively no time at all. It's so easy. Anything that you have, you don't need to use frozen corn. You can use canned corn, any canned vegetables you have. You can soak beans overnight, black-eyed peas, black beans, any beans that you have, and then make your stew the next day. And you can use any chicken that you have. I had drumettes that I had thawed out. I was thinking about cooking them in the oven and decided no, I would like to have some soup instead. So, I mean, you can literally put anything you want. I almost did forget to mention a starch. Now, I know the northern beans are a starch. Sometimes you can put potatoes in your stew as well. You're going to want to put those in a little bit later on in the cooking process because they will cook way down depending on what the size is that you cut them. And I've decided I'm going to use rice. I have jasmine rice, brown and white right here. It was pre-prepared, and we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna scoop that into our bowl of soup. And the last but not least is I forgot to mention my dehydrated herbs that I did in a previous video. I went ahead and I added sage, parsley, and some thyme in there. And that's going to be delicious. That's from a previous video I did on dehydrating your leftover herbs from the holiday. So that should be really, really good. But I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on some chicken stew. And I hope you can make some yourself. It's quite easy, doesn't take any time at all. The most time is spent processing the chicken in the boil water and then letting it cool enough so that you can debone it and de-skin it and then cut it up and put it back. Everything else is just dump in a pot. And oh, it's so good and it's very, very healthy. So until next time, thank you so much for joining me. God bless.